Hello, Snapcrypt here, and welcome back to my channel. Now, for today's video, I'll be doing my Chucky episode 3 review. So with that said, let's get to this video. I apologize that this review is coming a bit late, but better late than never, I suppose. I'm also going to be talking about some theories, as well as talk about the little promo that was released right after the episode and stuff, and then I may talk about like a sneak peek clip and stuff like that. But all that said out of the way, let's get to this video. So, episode 3. I liked it. I honestly really liked it a lot more than episode 2. I think that because they showed so much for episode 2 that it felt very anticlimactic for me, if that makes any sense, which it might probably not. But I overall really liked it. I do think that there were a few issues that I had specifically with it, like, for example, some of Chucky's stiff movements. You could tell it's a puppet, and that kind of took me out of it a little bit. It's just little nitpicks, really. But yeah, I felt like some of the movement was incredibly stiff for this episode, and that was a little bothersome, to me at least. That's how I feel, though. I just feel like some of the moments with the stiff movements from Chucky was a little bit weird. I will say, however, the music is the best out of this episode so far. Man, they really killed with the music. There's some really good music that set the mood for certain scenes. And we got some more of the music that has like some of that Child's Play 2 sound to it. And overall, man, I really like the OST for this series so far, and I hope they release it separately to either buy or to stream on Spotify or YouTube, because honestly, man, some of the music they use in this series kicks ass. To go back to what I was saying about the animatronic stuff, yeah, Chucky had his moments where he looked really stiff, but he also looked pretty awesome in other shots too. I really liked the way he looked when he was looking at the knife. He goes, shiny. I thought that looked fucking cool. I think that, yeah, there's a fair share of shots with Chucky that, yeah, he looks a bit stiff, and you can tell it's animatronic, and I'm not a big fan of that, but there are some good moments in there too, where we see some really cool looking, great looking movement coming from Chucky, and he does look great in some shots, and a lot of shots, I should say, because I do find myself really liking the way he looks. And let me mention the acting. I feel like the acting is starting to improve. It's starting to get a bit better. I feel like at the beginning of the series, some of the acting, it wasn't terrible, but some of the acting could have definitely been worked on. But it feels like as the series progressing, the acting is getting a bit better. I also want to mention real quick how a lot of this series, it's pretty unpredictable for the most part, because I've been coming up with theories left and right, what I think is going to happen. Some of the theories are right. I'm just going to say right now, this isn't like a major spoiler or anything. I'll let you guys know when that comes up. But I did guess how the fire started in Lexy's room. It has to do with the joint she was smoking, and I got that right. Of course, there's other parts of the story that it's hard to really guess, and I don't like make a guess or something. They'll find out when that episode airs, or probably even much later, that some of these theories I'm coming up with is wrong. And I can appreciate how the series is playing with their expectations. It's doing a pretty damn good job, if I'm being honest. There were some things I was certain was going to happen, but man, like, they're just like slapping me in the face. Like, they're like, nah, man, this is what's going to happen instead, bitch. Like it or not. I really like that it plays with their expectations like that, and it makes it hard to predict what's going to happen next. But speaking of how the fire starts and stuff, the scene where Lexy gets attacked by Chucky, so great. I overall really liked that scene. It was done very well, in my opinion. And his feet is kicking in this scene as well, kind of like how they did in Seed of Chucky and stuff, as well as Child's Play 2. And overall, I just think that's really cool. And I feel like they did the scene really well. And I want to mention the shot where the flames are around Chucky. That part looks awesome. Overall, I do like the laugh. Like, the laugh is definitely there. And that whole shot is just so sick. And those fires are real. In the inside of the episode 3 little behind the scene thing, they're talking about that whole like scene and stuff in the fire, and they're explaining how those flames are authentic flames, and knowing that is awesome. I'm not sure if they're authentic in that shot. I believe so, like the shot with Chucky, but I do know that for like everything else, those flames are real, and they had to have like firefighters on standby and stuff, and I could really appreciate that, and I like that they went the extra mile to do that, instead of just saying, we'll just throw some CGI flames in there, fuck it. I'm glad that they actually went out of their way to make those flames real. I also want to talk about how it does seem to be confirmed that we're going to be getting an exclusive title card every single episode. This episode has like, guarded tools and stuff as the title card, and I think it's so cool that they actually decided to do that instead of just making it like the same every single episode. They actually went out of their way to make each title card unique to that episode, and it somehow ties into that episode. I do want to also mention that, man, that Overkill, I'm not a big fan. Like, the kill on paper it's a cool idea and stuff, and I think they definitely could have executed it right, but they didn't really execute it right in my opinion. It's like Chucky poking him with a knife. Like, I'm just gonna show you guys real quick, like, he should be doing but instead he's actually that fucking hurts my hand, so I'm gonna quit that, but you guys get the point. It's like he's poking Oliver with a stick. That's what it looked like. I am not a big fan of how it looked, and the knife was barely going in and stuff. And if they're gonna do a scene where someone gets stabbed to death, he should be going all in. Like, he should be but no, it looked like more like he was poking him with a stick. I do, however, like how Chucky actually, he's not backing down. He don't care if you're a kid. He don't care if you're an animal. He'll murder you. I mean, I'm sure that none of you guys are animals, but you guys get the point. He don't care what you are. He'll murder you. But overall, I just really like that they're not backing down. They're not trying to dumb it down or anything. He don't care. He'll murder anyone. And I want to say that, man, we get a little bit of backstory on Charles E. Ray. To be honest, it was pretty freaky, and we did get to see his first ever kill. I overall love his backstory, how it wasn't something just overall stupid. Like, I hear a lot of people say, well, like, was he bullied? Or some dumb crap like that. And honestly, I'm tired of that being what defines what a villain is. If you're bullied, you're now gonna start stabbing people because some fucking dumb kid called you a name. Like, come on, that's not creative at all. The thing is, I think that's an overused excuse for why, like, a villain would be like some murderous maniac. I just don't think that should be the main conclusion to how a villain is made. And I like how the Chucky TV series demonstrates that that's not always the case. Some people are just fucked up. I like that Chucky as a kid had a normal life, and that he was just overall naturally fucked up. What makes Michael Myers in the original Halloween movie? He just wasn't all mentally there. He wasn't bullied. He seemed to have a normal life. He was just mentally messed up. That's all there was to it. Now that's true evil. I think that's what well defines Chucky as a villain. He wasn't bullied or anything like that. He had a normal life, and he was just a messed up kid from the jump, and that's all we need to know. And I'm overall glad that they didn't screw it up or show too much, because they could have potentially screwed up his backstory, and I'm glad that they didn't. I'm so glad that they didn't. But before I get into my final verdict, because I'm going to get into my final verdict, and then we're going to talk a little bit of spoilers, and I'm going to do my little promo breakdown that I do every single review. I wanted to say real quick that when I was watching episode 3 with Dave Dude and Mike Chabonte, Dave Dude brought up that there was some, like, feathering. Like, they messed up some feathering around Chucky in a shot where he's moving in a straight line. Like, he was moving in a completely straight line, and we're just talking about how that just didn't look right. And he said that they messed up the feathering around him, and it didn't, like, you could tell that it was green screened in. Now, that's just not a good look, in my opinion, and I just want to bring it up real quick. I know it might be like a little nitpick to you guys, but I just want to point out how just, I think they should really be putting more work into stuff like that to make it to where that's not noticeable. Because for some people, it can take them out of experience. But I didn't really notice the feathering issue, but I did notice how stiff and straight his walk was. And I agree, it doesn't, like, it just looks weird. I just want to say real quick that I'm not saying any of this to throw shade on anyone a part of the Chucky TV show cast and crew. I just think that as someone who's reviewing this show, I should be giving my constructive criticisms, and I'm trying to be the most respectful that I can. But final verdict, man, I was flip-flopping between like a 7 and 7.5, which is also a 7.5, as well as an 8. I think that this episode, I'm gonna let it slide a bit. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 for this episode. I felt myself liking this more than the second episode, so I'll let it slide a bit. I'll give this episode an 8. Hopefully next episode could be a 9, or maybe even shockingly a 10. We'll just have to wait and see. But let's talk spoilers. Do you know the craziest thing about the flashback to Chucky is his first kill was his mother, and his dad wasn't killed by him. It was killed by some random serial killer we don't even know the name of. And that little shot that I showed, and I was saying, oh, what if that's Charles Ray's mother? I was dead fucking wrong. That's his father. He got stabbed to death by some guy, and I guess Chucky's push, like where he talks about everyone's a killer if you push them far enough, that little push that he got was from that guy invading their house, and he decided to stab up his mom to impress the dude. And the guy actually was like, you got guts and stuff like that. And honestly, in the flashbacks of this episode, they actually speak about this mass murder on the radio, which flew completely over my head. And it seems like no one knows about him. It'd be cool if Chucky, you know, of course now in present day, figures out who this mass murderer is and visits him. Could you imagine if he actually showed up and maybe he's like thanking him for giving him that push? And maybe perhaps they could even team up, which would be an interesting thought. Or maybe Chucky just sticks it to him because he don't give a fuck. And yeah, that backstory is pretty cool, and I like how they kind of flipped the script on all of us and made us think that the backstory is going to go one way when it went a totally different way. But I'm a little disappointed that they go down a specific route where Chucky's parents were the killer. I had this really cool theory that Chucky would have been taught the lifestyle of serial killing from his parents, and they would be the ones teaching him how to kill. This theory from me comes from a bit of dialogue from Cedar Chucky where he's trying to convince Gwen to be a serial killer, and he tells Gwen that it's been a family tradition for generations, and that's why he came up with that theory. And I thought it'd be cool if Chucky's parents were serial killers and they got him into the groove of it, and he just wanted to do the same for his son. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And honestly, I think that it makes him more interesting that he wasn't picked on as a kid, and that he's just overall messed up, because that can happen. And evil doesn't always have a reason of being there, you know? Like, I just find it interesting that he's just messed up, and I think that in a way makes him more evil. I also want to bring up the inside the episode 3 thing again. So Brett Dorff mentioned something in it. So he says, and I quote, with the series, it can become much more than just a backstory. It could become part of what drives the story, which is very interesting to note. What if one of the reasons that Chucky is back in Hackensack is for the dude that killed his father? To find out who he is. Or maybe he already knows. So I just want to bring that up real quick, because that phrase that he said, it's interesting. And man, that scene where Jake literally was gonna kill Lexy but it turned out to be a fake out. It was actually Junior, his cousin, dressed like Lexy. Man, that honestly threw me for a loop. The reason why he thought it was Lexy is because he was tracking her phone, and Junior so happened to be carrying the phone to Lexy. I just love how this series is playing with our expectations and overall tricking us into thinking that the series will go one way, but it goes a full 180 and says, oh yeah, you thought that? You thought wrong. But overall, that scene, it seemed like it really took Jake out of wanting to kill, and for the most part, as a character, I think that's pretty good. And how Lexy approaches Jake trying to get Chucky for her sister, she was trying to apologize her ass off, but none of it seemed like genuine at all. And yeah, Chucky did eventually go to Lexy and her sister because Chucky had a talk with Jake and was like, hey, I can take care of Lexy for you. Which really starts to make me think, why does he want her dead so badly? It can't just, like, I doubt that the reason why he actually wants her dead has anything to do with Jake. I'm pretty sure there's like an ulterior motive, and yeah, maybe Lexy's family is tied to his past. And maybe as a way to get revenge on them, he wants to actually take out Lexy and possibly her family. Like, there's no way that the reason why he's actually after Lexy has to do with Jake. Like, I don't think he really even, like, deep down cares about Jake like that. He probably don't even give a fuck about the kid. And I'm just gonna say right now, I know that a lot of people are saying, man, kill that bitch Lexy, she's die. She ain't gonna die. I'm just gonna say it right now, she is not dying. I highly doubt that they're ever going to kill that character off. Wanna know why? Because they'll probably give her a redemption arc, and yeah, there's just no way they're killing her off. I'm just going to say that right now. And there's just one scene, right, where Lexy gets exposed to her parents, and her parents actually seem embarrassed, but in this moment, I really feel bad for Jake's uncle, which I think his name is Luke? Actually, I'm a dumbass. It is actually Logan. So, Jake's uncle's name is Logan. I'm sorry, I got that mixed up. But obviously, he seems very pissed about the fact that she's parodying how his brother died. Like, that's just completely disrespectful. And so, obviously, yeah, he's fucking pissed. Like, I get to see the rage in his eyes. But more on him later, because there's a pretty interesting shot of him in the little promo that we got for episode 4. I overall just love how the teacher, Miss Fairchild, was able to shut up the stuck-up and entitled parents of Lexy. I love Miss Fairchild. Like she has no chill. I love her. Obviously, a big upgrade for Miss Kettlewell. That naughty bitch. And that cemetery scene, man, I want to talk about that because in this scene, the music was set really good. We get to see like a very emotional moment with Jake as a character, and we got to see a little bit of character development with him, and I really liked that scene. And of course, we get to see Charles Lee Ray's grave. So in this case, I wonder if the cemetery from Bride Chucky was remodeled or if they moved Charles Lee Ray's grave to a different cemetery. Because the surroundings look quite a bit different from Bride Chucky. And then there's this scene, right, where Chucky has to cut through the blanket to get out of bed. I'm just wondering, why couldn't he just pull the blanket over him? Like, was it really that heavy for him? Like, I'm pretty sure he has the strength of a grown man. Why does he need a knife to cut through that? So, this don't make that much sense, unless, due to his soul being split up into multiple dolls, he's not as strong as he used to be. Because just think, like, for example, at the very end of Child's Play 2, when he starts freaking out and all those boxes fall on him, he was able to just pounce out of that box. Like, he launched up and he was pissed. And that's what I mean. Like, he shouldn't need a knife to cut through a fucking blanket, unless for some reason the fact that his soul is split up into multiple dolls, he's not as strong as he used to be. And lastly, the last spoiler that I want to discuss, there's this scene, right, at like near the very end of the episode, Chucky says, "This is for Jake. You fucking little," and then bleep. It's censored, and honestly, that took me out of it. A lot of people thinks that he called her a cunt or a whore, and there's no real confirmation what he actually said, but those were a few guesses on what he could have said to Lexy that actually got that censored. What do you guys think he said? I don't know, he's already throwing F-bombs and stuff, so like, just let him be Chucky, let him be himself, like, let him embrace the cussing. But now that we're done talking spoilers, and I gave my final verdict, I gave a kind of a non-spoiler review and stuff, let's talk about the episode 4 promo, because there's some things I want to talk about that. So that promo, let's talk about it. The promo starts with Lexy looking at her sister in the hospital, while you can hear Lexy asking Jake why Chucky is after her, followed by Chucky walking by and Lexy missing him by just a second. It looks like Lexy's sister Caroline got sick due to the smoke from the fire at their house, and Lexy actually looks guilty for it. We see a shot of what looks like Jake waiting in a hospital hall, and a ball taps his leg after rolling down the hall to him, getting his attention set on down the hall. Maybe Chucky is trying to get his attention or something, or to get him to follow him. We have to find him and make sure he's dead, says Jake. I'm pretty sure that's Jake. But as they look around in what I assume is Chucky's childhood home, as I said in one of my previous videos, maybe something happened to Chucky by Jake or Lexy, and they aren't sure if he's still alive or not. We already know that Jake and Lexy are now teaming up to fight Chucky at this point, but it seems like if something did happen to him, he's definitely suffering some battle damage. Here's this quick shot of Chucky in the dark, and our good friend Mike Javante actually made this easier to see. This is what he looks like here. A part of his face is shadowed out, so we were guessing during our stream that the fire burned a part of his face, and I'm not sure, but this probably isn't true, but it's fun to think about. Maybe he did get some battle damage on his face due to the fire. But what do you guys think is going on here? It looks like he's kind of like looking for Jake and Lexy, but maybe he did suffer some battle damage on his face. Something leads Jake and Lexy along with Chucky to this house, and I wonder what. I just love that Jake's uncle is laying the smackdown on Lexy's father, getting some payback for the messed up prank Lexy pulled. Man, that dude deserves it. We see Lexy's shoes, I'm guessing. I'm pretty sure that's Lexy's feet, along with some blood, probably coming from a shot we see later on, which is actually literally the last thing I'm gonna mention in this promo. But it looks like Lexy may come across a dead body. Jake seems concerned for Lexy here in this scene, mentioning how he's just gonna come after her again. Maybe she thinks he might have burned away in the fire and thinks that that's the only time he'll attack her. You might feel a little prick, which is what the poster to Cult to Chucky says. This is where that blood seems to be coming from when Lexy walks up to it. It's that detective that's always with Devin's mom and keeps trying to put the blame on the people around the crime scene. It looks like Chucky will be killing him with a syringe here. Multiple probably, because we have seen like bodies and stuff stabbed multiple times with syringes and whatnot in one of the other trailers. But I believe Lexy is gonna walk into the room and either she'll find the detective's body in the room and get the nurse, or she'll find both the detective and the nurse dead, because there's a nurse that's shown at the last shot of this promo. So maybe the nurse is gonna find the body of the detective and then Chucky's gonna kill her too. Nonetheless, that's the end of the promo. So what do you guys think of what's gonna happen next? Those are just my guesses. Don't try to take anything for fact. They're just theories. I'm having fun here. And we did get a little sneak peek for the next episode, and honestly, it's not really much to really say about it. It just shows Junior going under, like they kind of put him to sleep. He sees Chucky walk by and shit. And there's really nothing much of note to really say about this. It's really cool though. But that is all for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And definitely subscribe to become a slasher. All social media links and my merch just get below. Thank you guys so much for watching my little review on the Chucky TV series episode 3. I had a lot of fun coming on here and talking about this with you guys. I'm sorry this came a bit late, just to say that real quick. But I'm out of here. I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget, guys, to keep on slashing.